making content is that you try to put ideas out there, concepts, and there's always a good portion of the audience that isn't going to get it because they can't really see the forest for the trees. Like, for instance, every time we do something with Mission Improbable, I get a lot of people in the comments that are like, we want to see real cars, we don't want to see Jeeps, we don't care about Jeeps. And they're missing the forest for the trees. They're not seeing the forest for the trees because they're looking at it as a Jeep. But Mission Improbable is a Jeep, yes, but that's not the purpose of Mission Improbable. That's not what we're trying to do here. This is pure hot rodding in its most basic form, and it applies universally, like across the board. What we're doing with this vehicle, let's not call it a Jeep, what we're doing with this vehicle, with this hot rod, because that's what it is, it's a hot rod, is we're taking a systematic and methodical approach to improving its performance. Now, for us, for our context, in the context of what we do, performance is acceleration in a straight line as measured in elapsed time. It's that simple. It's very straightforward. Other people have different ideas of what performance is. But regardless of what you consider performance to be, the steps taken to maximize any vehicle for performance are the same. And it's what we've done with this Jeep. So we put some pretty crazy restrictions on ourselves. In that we can only spend no more than $3,000. And that includes the purchase price, that includes the windshield that we put in this thing. Like literally, every penny that's gone into this has been so far $2,800. The self-imposed $3,000 limit is because without the limit, there's nothing to stop us from spending $20,000 or $100,000 or $1 million. It doesn't make any difference. The limit is important to define the goal, right? It's the same thing with working only with stock factory parts. That limit is important to define the goal, because without those two limits, you're no longer taking the systematic approach. Now you're taking the shotgun approach. And you're saying, well, I'll just throw a bunch of money at it, and I'll throw a bunch of parts at it, and this is how I'll arrive at what I would like my vehicle to be. It doesn't usually work. Most times, the vast majority of cars out there, modified cars, hot rods, whatever you want to call them, don't meet their owner's expectations. Or if they do, it's only after they've exhausted countless resources, time, money, hiring talent to achieve those goals. Mission Improbable is about working with your head and taking the systematic approach one bit at a time and maximizing it in a logical order. Okay, and we've got the playlist up, so you guys want to watch from the very beginning. If you're new to this, you want to see from the very beginning, it's all out there. But the whole point here is to take a systematic approach to making this vehicle operate to its maximum efficiency. And then find the areas where you do need to spend money. Because there comes a point where you reach limits, right? Once you've reached that limit, you've reached the wall, and you can no longer go any further with a part or a system that's already in place, that's when you spring for the money. That's when you buy the cam or the head or whatever it happens to be. But you don't do it until you've found the limits. I'll gotta get to that in a minute, but I wanted to drive this thing around a little bit, so put the throttle body. We did the throttle body, and the results are profound. Okay, now it didn't add anything to the bottom end, right? I don't think it's going to help our 60-foot very much. It may, but the airflow improvement isn't really seen at the lower end of the RPM range, let's say under 2,500 RPM. And then we reach a limit, an airflow limit with this engine. And when we go back to the shop, I'll give you the exact details. That keeps it from making any power above 5,000, 5,100 RPM. but in the middle, oh my God, the difference is night and day. It's profound. So this is fourth gear. I'm just hard throttle. You hear the whistle. That whistle is what the restriction they put in the bottom of the throttle body. That whistle is what they're looking to get rid of. That's why they neck it down like that. I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know if it's coming across on the microphone on this thing. But yeah, we've got a pretty profound whistle, which, to my way of thinking, really adds something to the way this thing, you know, it's an element. It's hot rod whistles, right? You know, it's like when guys put gear drives on their cars just so that they get the gear drive noise. The difference in mid-range acceleration is absolutely profound. From like 2,500 RPM to right up to where it just stops breathing. 5,000, 5,100, like that. Oh my God! I'm not going to throw a number out there because it will sound ridiculous. How much horsepower increase I think we actually attained. I'm looking for a place that I could rip some gears here. The ground is a little wet. Hang on. Turn around. Oops. Ground is very wet. I gotta go where it's dry. That I'm on right now is one that I like to ride my motorcycles on. Very curvy. It's got some tight decreasing radius stuff to it, but that's a whole different purpose. There's a stretch of dry coming up over here. And a whistle. Can you hear it? Thing is just an absolute ball to drive. It's just so happy, so easygoing, so responsive. Right here. Alright, sun's out here. And the road's dry here. Okay, I can rip some gears. I'm gonna have to walk it because it's not gonna have any traction. So I'll walk it through first. It's just amazing. This is a dead stock engine, just working with the stuff that's around it, you know, not spending any money, not doing anything crazy. There's no application of insane science or anything like that. It's just working with what's here. So let's go back to the shop. This thing just snaps too. Let's go back to the shop and I'll tell you what we found and what I think we're going to have to do. So this is what I mean about taking a methodical and systematic approach to hot rodding. This is what we've done. This is what I've learned so far. And now I'm realizing that to make our goal, which is only 4/10, it's less than 4/10 of a second away. 935 is our best run and we need something in the 890s. 899 will do it. Those last 3.5 4/10 are not going to be as easy or as straightforward as I thought they were going to. So here's where we're at with this thing. Here's what I've learned. We put the throttle body in there, definite seat of the pants improvement. But I know that it's not going to do anything for us, or very little for us, on the 60 foot. Because there's diminishing returns, right? Like the most important part of the 60 foot is 0 to movement. All right, that's crucial, that's the big thing. And then every inch of that 60 foot, the further you go, the less overall, difference it's gonna make. Well, given the fact that our increased airflow doesn't really show up under 2,500 RPM, or approximately where we're launching this thing and where it's like really pulling off the starting line, we're not gonna see an improvement there. We will see a bit of an improvement towards the latter part of the 60 foot, but we're not going to see an RPM improvement where we can run first gear out further, or second gear out further, third gear out further. We know that we're going to hit an RPM wall at around 5,000 RPM. So even though seat of the pants, there's a tremendous improvement, I know it's not really going to show up on the time slip. We're going to go anyway, just to quantify everything, but I know it's not going to make the difference that in theory it should. So what is the problem here? Why can't we spin this thing any higher? It just stops 5,100, 5,200 RPM. So the first thing is that Dr. Art has been tuning it, and we've thrown a couple different combinations at it, and it seems really happy right where it is. But there's no way to actually get it to spin any higher. Meaning that through the computer, there is no cutoff. There's no rev limiter built into the computer where it's going to take away, fuel at a certain RPM or spark at a certain RPM. It's not there. It's not rev limited. It's limited by airflow. So we're dealing with an inline 6, and it's a reverse flow cylinder head. So right off the bat, we know that it's limited just in its basic architecture, but it should still be able to go to $6,000 without a problem. What's the bottleneck? What's holding us back? Well, now I did a little research, okay? Because that's what happens. You find a limit, and then you find out why is that limit. Well, I found the limit, and it's in the camshaft. So the factory cam on this thing, it's in my way of viewing things from an old school hot rodder mechanic type of thing, it's a pretty unusual grind. So the cam, it's a split duration cam, or a split profile cam. Okay, I'm gonna, right up front, I'm gonna say the engineers who penned this thing out really did their homework and came up with a profile that matches the exact need, like as a stock vehicle. So it's a Jeep, okay, it's supposed to be torquey, it's supposed to, mid-range and low-end and mid-range torque, okay? They nailed it, right? But that profile is going to really hurt us on the drag strip. So it's a low, it's a lift is in the low 400s. It's like 410 lift, whatever it is. Definitely not the best, but it's not really a deal breaker. You can get some airflow through an engine, especially one with decent sized valves like this one has. It has decent sized ports and decent sized valves right from the get-go. You can move some atmosphere through a 410 lift. Duration is where we've got a problem. So the duration on this cam, it's advertised at like 258. It's split pattern, so it's like 250 and 258, or 252 and 258, whatever it is. Okay, it's advertised in the 250s, lower 250s. But at 50, it's only 190. Right, so we're dealing with 190 degrees of duration. At 50, it's got no duration. But here's the surprising part. This engine idles so smooth. I figured, well, the cam's got to be ground on like a 112, right, something like that. No, it's 107. I'm like, how can this thing be so smooth and be on a 107? But then again, it's got like no duration. So it's punchy, like you would expect a cam of that nature to be, but it doesn't have the follow through because it doesn't have duration. That's our limiting factor. So my plan was to work on the cylinder head, port it, and if we're working with the stock components, it's not going to do us any good. There's nothing I can do to increase airflow through that engine using the stock cam, that's not going to turn around and bite us by killing low end. Because it needs all the velocity you can get. When you open the ports, you're decreasing velocity. And it's not spinning to an RPM range where flow through the ports, I'm sure there's small improvements that can be made, but it's not spinning to an RPM range where really finessing the bowls and the ports and everything are going to make much of a difference. Now it says any material we take off of it is going to work against us because it's not going to make power where traditional cylinder head work will make power. So if we're limited to using the stock cam, we're going to have to find other places inside that engine to make power. That last 4/10, it's less than 4/10, but the last 4/10 are going to be a battle. We're going to have to get very creative here. Our improvements are going to have to be through things like compression and reducing parasitic losses, reducing internal weight and parasitic losses. We're not going to find it just by like, oh, let's just carve up on this head a little bit and whoosh, she'll go. It ain't going to work like that. So we got our work cut out for us. Like I said, I'm going to take it to the track anyway. Hopefully next week there's still one test session left. So I'm going to take it and we'll run it through and see what we end up with to finalize, our numbers. But I know we're not going to get the ET. We're not going to get the numbers out of it. This isn't going to do the job. We're going to have to go into it and we're going to have to be creative. So that's it. That's where we're at with this. Systematic and methodical. I know the easiest thing is to just put a camshaft in. If you want to use stock parts, we can go to an earlier, like the 95 and earlier cam is much more traditional. It's got more lift. It's got more duration. It's on a 112. 96, they went to this cam. But again, the limitation is to work with the stock parts. So, easy way out. Yes, I know, put a camshaft in it. But that's not the mission. The mission is to make it work with what we have. The true essence and spirit of hot rodding. Now, the next phase, after we're done, after we've met our goals, could very well incorporate some severe head work and camshaft. I don't want to hurt the drivability or the personality of this thing because it's magic. So I have to really think about what I want to do with it. But yeah, the next phase after we've reached our goal, we'll probably do something. We'll pull it back apart again. We'll do something with the cylinder head. We'll definitely do something with the cam. I know that cam is not going to be, viable much. It's not viable now, but it's certainly not going to be viable much past our goal. We'll get there though. We will get there though. And maybe I got to find like another 50 or 100 pounds to pull out of the overall package. But again, I don't want to hurt it. It's drivable. It's just a happy truck. So I don't want to gut it. You know what I mean? And really destroy it. But we want to go muscle carbon with that thing. And in the meantime, you know what? Before it starts raining again, I'm going to go bang some more gears. I'll see you tomorrow.